Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/DionsDailyDose.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the late start. It's Jim's fault. There he is. Welcome, Jim. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, dick.
That you that you eventually got. No, I'm just kidding. I know things have been a little weird. We initially set up coffee breaks so that when Jim got off of work, he would come over here directly from work, and then we'd do the show. Unfortunately, since the accident, which he can't say much about, but I can, he's had a change in schedule, to say the least. He worked nights before, but now he doesn't right now. Because you're going to physical therapy and all that stuff, trying to get yourself fixed, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I had a little incident that occurred yesterday, and I started to tell Jim about it, but I was like, wait, we'll tell it to everyone at the same time, you included. So I was sitting here. The wife had gone to Hobby Lobby, because she does. I don't know what the hell she was looking for, but she decided, I'm just going to go to Hobby Lobby. So she leaves, right? I should know by now, because it seems like every time she goes to Hobby Lobby, something weird happens. This time, it was something that could have been potentially deadly. So she goes to Hobby Lobby, and a little while after she left, I hear some commotion at the front door. It sounded like someone was trying the knob. Well, I thought it was my son, my oldest son, who has moved out and occasionally stops by. Well, then there was a loud knock at the door. Again, it's probably Ryan. He forgot his keys, right? Because that happens sometimes. When he goes to work, he hangs his keys up, including the house key, and then he'll swing by on lunch or whatever. No, I go to the door, and it's this old guy with a 2-liter bottle of RC in his left arm. And he's got this impatient look on his face. I open the door, and he proceeds to attempt to walk past me into my house. And I'm like, whoa, old timer, what? Can I help you? He's like, yeah, I live here. I was like, no, the fuck you don't. I've lived here for 5 years. I know where I live, and you ain't been here. Again, he's like, all right. And starts to try to walk past me again. Now, if I hadn't have been holding the door with the left hand and blocking the doorway, he'd have just strolled right past me. And he rattles off the address numbers and goes, I'm like, yeah. We'll see. Okay, that proves nothing. Again, he tries to walk past me, and this time I put my hand out and got bladed and reached for my weapon because this guy's attempting to come into my home again. At this point, he goes, what street is this? So I tell him, and because I live on Providence Street, pretty much everybody knows that. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. I said, let me guess, Salem Street, which is a block away. And yes, all the houses look very similar. It's the same layout. It was a HUD project in the 70s. You know, all the houses look very, very similar. That said, the front of my house, is very different than the surrounding houses. Not only is there my SUV with my name on it and a big American flag with the Second Amendment on it, a flag in the front yard, a motorcycle, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that it's difficult to mistake my house for someone else.
I thought this was going to be a much more exciting story.
Oh, come on,
I mean,
man.
yeah, honestly, I feel like this
This is a letdown, isn't it?
it's a little anticlimactic.
Is it?
Yeah, to me.
Well,
To me.
fair, right?
Yeah.
For
Because,
what
like,
it's worth,
yeah, I thought somebody,
I'm
like,
glad.
you know, snuck into your house and it's like, and you're, you know, like sitting on your armchair and you're like, click, click, wrong house, motherfucker. You know, I thought it was going to be something when you broached the subject, I thought it was going to be something much more akin to that. You know, it's like, hey, time to rethink your life choices.
Right.
Not some old guy with dementia.
But he didn't seem like, I know what dementia looks like, right? I've dealt with dementia. I've taken care of people with dementia. My grandfather had Alzheimer's. It didn't have that eye look, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had he presented, because I've seen it, like,
Right.
had he presented that way, I'd have been a lot less confrontational.
No, I understand where you're coming from with the, like, okay, you know, this old guy's trying to get in my house.
Right.
And you know, I keep telling him this isn't your house.
Right.
And he keeps trying to come in.
Mm-hmm.
No, this isn't your house.
Right.
All right, look, dude, you know, polite's done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. At that point, that was kind of the last little inch.
And I can understand how you feel intimidated by that RC Cola.
I don't know what he has on him, dude, besides RC Cola.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he's trying to, and so there's a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there are more people in the vehicle. I don't know if there are people hiding behind the vehicle. Come on, man.
No, I told you, I get it.
It doesn't sound like you get it.
No, I get it. You know, I would have been, you know, sufficiently wary myself. You know.
But it's not like I, you know, immediately drew on the old man and said, you know, down on the floor.
No,
fucker,
I did.
You know?
I'm smelling what you're stepping in. I'm just saying.
Well, look, I thought interesting story.
I know you had your experiences with dementia. I have too.
Okay. Personally?
Yes, personally. My grandfather had dementia.
No, I was. Go ahead.
Where am I at right now?
Exactly.
My grandfather had dementia.
That's right. I actually forgotten about that.
Like, and in the earlier stages, like I had a full-on conversation with him, pleasant conversation for probably a good half an hour.
Okay.
You know, and he was with it, you know, just yada, 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 you know, fucking just a very, you know, an adult, reasonable conversation, which he immediately followed up with, so how do you know the family? Yeah. You know, there's a lot of nuances.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the brain's it's a weird thing. We don't really fully understand the brain. Right. You know, doctors like to think they do.
True.
But they don't. It's a mystery.
There were some times in my grandfather's, you know, condition when he was perfectly lucid.
Yeah.
You know, even at the later stages, there were moments of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
But agreed that he would often make, what do you call it, unusual or strange connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, forget, you know, who I was.
It's a weird thing.
Whatever.
And I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm not saying that's not the case here. It could have been some elaborate, you know, little.
Obviously, highly unlikely that was the case, right? Highly unlikely that it's some elaborate ruse. However, better to be safe.
Right. No, I get it.
Here's what it comes down to for me, though, right? One of my kids, I'm not going to say who, one of my kids has a habit of not locking the door on their way out, right? They'll just run out to do whatever.
Yeah.
And often, for periods until I notice, the door's unlocked. Had this guy just strolled in my house, that might have been a completely different conversation.
Right. No,
Just
yeah,
saying.
no, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to downplay your harrowing experience.
My heroism.
No, I'm just
In the
saying.
face of danger.
I'm just saying the way you
I thought it was fucking interesting. Fuck yourself.
the way the way you broached it just made it seem a lot more, you know.
Fair. All right. Well, you know what? At least they don't embellish things. You know, I just told you what happened. I thought
You did tell me what happened.
Yeah.
You
I mean, I
did,
could
you
have
did.
made it a lot more interesting.
You could have. Yeah.
Lied through my teeth, but
Right.
I mean, put it this way, I found it a sufficient break from the norm that I felt it was worthy of
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
And that and. So during the course of setting up for this video, it came to my attention that Jim has not seen what I consider to be one of the most classic clips on the internet.
Really, most classic
Oh, to
of
me,
all the clips.
Of all the clips, yes.
In all of the internet.
In all of the internet. Absolutely. So I have to now find this clip and play it because I genuinely can't believe that you haven't seen this.
Maybe I have and just don't remember.
That if you forgot, then oh my. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Here's the short version.
All right, do I need to
Yeah, put the headphone on real quick. All right. So this is an interview from Ghana, I think. Guyana, I don't know, somewhere in Africa, where this reporter interviews this activist, and it is, in my opinion, absolutely hilarious. Sean had not seen it either, so I had to play it for him. But this is, again, in my opinion, you may not feel this way, and if you don't, but it's hilarious to me. All right, so here we go.
We bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr? Pepe Julian Onzima. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
having me. Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay. You are a transgender.
What shows that I'm gay?
You are a transgender, and
Yes,
you're
I
a gay rights activist and an outspoken lesbian, homosexual. How can I describe you? Now, we're looking at the raging debate. You're a gay rights activist. Why should someone be gay? You're having a girlfriend.
Yes.
Do you perform the natural obligations?
I'm not sexually active right now.
So what are
By
you doing with
choice.
this lady?
By choice.
By choice.
I've just
You always love when people are like, I'm not sexually active right now. They always have to clarify by choice. By choice. It's not that I can't get it. I just choose not to. I always find that.
not. I've chosen not to engage.
Doesn't that make you gay?
What do you mean? Doesn't that make me gay? I am male and attracted to a female.
So who is gay?
I'm gay.
See, I mean, come on, man.
That is it. Not the most hilarious.
Not the most. I didn't say it was the most hilarious.
Well,
I just
you
said
just
I think it's one of the most classic clips.
I don't know about that. Yeah, it's humorous.
amusing. Yeah,
It's humorous.
It is. It's humorous. The full interview is a lot more in depth, and there are more moments. But the full interview does get kind of wild.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting that like the second you say, so why are you gay or
Yeah, I said,
this
why
or
are
that?
you
It's like
gay?
who says
It
I'm gay?
Still makes me chuckle, right? Exactly.
Who says I'm gay?
Yeah.
Like,
Who says
but
I'm gay?
you, it's like
You're a gay rights activist.
yeah, outspoken what? Lesbian, homosexual? What do you?
What do I call you? This guy, though, I guess his program that he does is incredibly popular, and he gets a lot of views, I guess. But he's hilarious, dude. I've seen some of his other stuff, but the full interview, if you guys want to look it up, it's got this preacher who comes on and is talking about how they use fruit to simulate male components like bananas and stuff.
Who does this?
I guess he's talking about the lesbians. I don't know, but it goes like full blown wild, man. I just figured a short clip, that part was enough. Why are you gay? It's iconic, man. And I had to play it for you so that when I said that, you would know what I'm referring to.
I think maybe I had seen that at some point.
Oh, what is this? John's Life says the only funnier one is some African Christian station. I'm a Christian, but I'm gay. The effing meltdown. Oh my God. Okay, I'll have to look that one up. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna do it right now. As much as I would love to, I will look it up after the show, though. So I want to talk about something that kind of pertains to the, I guess, rather disappointing incident that I had. I'm just curious, man.
I didn't say it was disappointing.
For a blood pool? Like, were you hoping for crime scene cleanup?
No, it wasn't like that. It's just, like I said, the way you broached it, it's just like you said, home invasion. You know, I thought, like, you know, it's one of those, what would you do if I walked in your house? You know, like.
Fair. I mean, that's why I had a question mark, because, like, here's the thing, right? In a civilized society, okay?
Or like if you're sitting there, somebody opens the door, comes in and goes, what are you doing here? And you go, what are you doing here? Well, one of us is obviously mistaken.
Right. But so here's my question, right? As I won't say paranoid, but hey, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
What do you mean by that?
Exactly. I won't say paranoid, but I will say prepared, right? You're a prepared individual. And I work at ISP. One of the first things you're taught is A, never get complacent, and B, head on a swivel. Right? You have to watch, you have to look. With that in mind, at what point, when someone enters your house uninvited, is lethal force okay? I mean, I'm not talking legally. We know the law in Indiana. You can say whatever, you know, if they can't testify against you. I'm just saying. Not that I'm advocating for that.
This is in no way legal advice.
Right, yeah, for sure. I'm not a lawyer. Look, but in Indiana, we have a stand your ground law. We have your home is your castle, the castle of defense, and all that, right? But at what point does someone coming into your home, all bets are off, right? Because this is my home, my domicile, my sphere of influence.
No, I get you.
What do you think?
Well, you know, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly, you know, how aggressively he was trying to enter the house.
Right. Okay, so let's just say for
and let's put this into perspective,
sure,
okay? Like,
sure.
you know, you're talking to an old man with a 2-liter bottle in his hand. Like, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
You think you could have took him?
Sure.
Okay.
And I will tell you, you know, I am.
Yeah, I understand your medical problems and all that, and all that factored in.
All that factored in.
You think you could have?
I think so. Yeah.
Think you could have put him on his ass?
Yes.
Okay.
And when I say old, I don't mean like 90, right?
Right.
He was probably, I would say,
like late 60s, maybe.
Yeah, mid to late 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. But more physically fit than I am. So there's that.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're walking back now.
I'm just pointing that out. It's not like he was, you know, frail and, you know, all of that. He was, you know, seemed to be in fairly good physical shape. So that's important because it's not like, you know, he's coming in with a cane
No, I didn't think that, like, Mr. Magoo was trying to,
right, yeah,
shuffle his way past you.
Right.
I mean, he had to have been reasonably strong, carrying that 2-liter bottle. But,
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, those things are not light, man. You carry like a baby too. I mean,
I'm just saying that there's,
certain factors.
There's factors,
Sure.
and like there's a progression.
Okay.
And going like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Is not always the right thing to do.
Call, right.
Especially like, you're standing there, because the cops are going to come.
Right. Exactly.
And you're standing there, gun in hand, dead old guy,
right.
Armed with a 2-liter bottle of RC, which I'm sure is probably shaken up and popped its cap at this point.
By now, yeah.
Yeah, popped the caps. It's not good.
You've infected my child, by the way.
I've done nothing, and don't ever say it like that ever again.
Yeah, it was kind of a bad connotation. No, dude, he has this like incessant need for puns now. Thank you very much. He wasn't like that before.
I didn't do that.
You did that.
I did not do
fault.
that. It's not my fault.
Anyway.
But okay, you at the threshold, gun in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Cops show up, dead old guy, 2-liter bottle.
Yeah.
Not a real good look for you.
Right.
There's and you might get off on it.
Yeah.
Stand your ground, castle doctrine,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, but why take the truth?
That's going to be a hard sell.
Sure.
And even at that point,
but here's what I'm asking.
I can almost guarantee you that somewhere that dude's got a family.
Oh yeah.
And that family is going to sue you for all the nothing you got.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this though, because obviously at the door he's not pushing past me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a fairly big guy.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, let's say I'm sitting there in my drawers, right, watching some TV, and this guy just strolls the fuck in my house. I mean, there for a time. For those of you lacking context, this particular house that we moved into was inhabited previously by drug dealers.
Mm-hmm.
They sold whatever, and it was well known as that. For months after we moved in, we had people showing up looking to score, and I'm like, look, they don't live here anymore. We're still getting their freaking mail and child support crap too. Anyway,
is this relevant?
I guess not. To me, it is.
Is the mail relevant? Is their child support relevant? I mean, really?
I guess not.
I mean, context, guy. Context.
Anyway.
No, and okay, and it would slightly change the situation had he crossed the threshold.
That's what I'm talking
and
about.
You're taken, as it were, off guard.
Because there have been cases like this where someone just goes into somebody's house mistakenly. They think it's their house, especially in these apartment complexes, right?
Right.
Where the buildings, everything looks exactly the same. And what's interesting is a lot of these apartment complexes, with the rules that they have to where everything looks identical, in my opinion, kind of exacerbates the situation or kind of makes it worse. I mean, yeah, you should be able to find your own home.
Right.
But as we well know, and I don't know if that was the case with this one, but people get inebriated.
Let me take your side for a second.
Okay.
Let me take your side for a second.
There's something they don't happen very often.
I know. So savor it.
Right? Yeah. Just mark the calendar.
Just drink it in. You live somewhere.
Right.
You leave that home.
Yep.
You come back. When you leave, I'm assuming you lock your door because people suck.
Unfortunately, yes, they do.
So for somebody that you didn't lock the door when you left, I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Right.
So
there was a case, I don't remember exactly, right? But there was a case where this guy, I guess, walked into their neighbor's home, right? But the door was locked. and they used their home key to open the door. They're like, it started this massive investigation because there was a bunch of new homes that were built. And I don't know if they used the same like lock on all the houses, but it was like, if not, it's a 1 in a million crazy coincidence.
I mean, it's possible for 2 locks to be accidentally keyed alike.
Yeah.
Older cars, we used to do that all the time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, oh look, this key fits this car.
Mm-hmm. They've had reports, especially like the older people that drive the older cars, they'll get the cars mixed up, and there's only so many potential combinations for these cars, the way that the keys were set up. So they would accidentally drive away in Wanda's Buick instead of Gladys's.
I don't know Wanda or Gladys, but they sound like
people.
They sound good people. They sound like people who drive Buicks.
Speaking of good people, you ever notice when you're, and this is like tangentially related, okay? You ever notice when someone dies, they are suddenly a saint, especially if they were the victim of violence, right? If they were mowed down in their prime, they were a great person who never did anything wrong. Do you ever notice that?
I mean, I've noticed it happens from time to time.
Amazingly, doesn't matter who they are.
I mean, you don't want to like, if you're talking about, somebody who's a victim of a crime or whatever, they're killed or whatnot. You don't want to present it as like, well, he was a piece of shit. He had it coming. I mean, like, let's just let's go into fantasy land for a second.
All right.
Let's say your kid.
Yep.
Okay. Your kid's a freaking thug. Okay. And, he gets gunned down or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you're like, so the news comes and they report it because it's a high profile case, whatever. So you're getting interviewed. Are you going to go, well, he had it coming? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, I guess. Are you going to say that? I mean, honestly.
Right. I get it. But like, it's like they never did anything wrong ever. It's like, what kills me are the ones that like have a history of criminal action. I'm not talking about, they pocketed a job.
No, I got you. Yeah.
They're angels that, couldn't possibly be in the wrong. They helped little old ladies across the street and did anything and everything amazing in their life. And it's like, you know what?
Always a picture of him in a sweater vest.
Yeah. He was a piece of shit. I know he was a piece of shit.
And then you look at, like some of their old Facebook stuff and
they got the gun to the camera and, all of that. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I think they might be leaning heavily on the rhetoric here. Just saying, like, nobody's ever bad, not even like themselves, like fair. Right? They never give like a truly fair analogy of that person's life when they die.
Well, no, because
like, they're dead, right?
Well,
to remember,
there's that. But nobody wants to be remembered as the villain.
True.
And we talk. Where do we see this? We see it in the news. The news, which is we've talked extensively, like exhaustively, about how not impartial the news is.
Sure. And it doesn't matter which side,
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, left, right.
Yeah, same vulture.
Exactly. Whether you're talking CNN or Fox News, they both have their slant. And they both present what they want you to know rather than the actual facts. So, speaking of this subject, have you seen the worst obituary in history?
Probably not.
Okay. I'm going to share this because this is the one exception to the rule, although this person didn't die from violence alone. But it's one of those situations where they are not the angel, okay?
Yeah.
Dolores Aguilar, born in 1929 in New Mexico, this was in the paper, left us on August 7th, 2008. She will be met in the afterlife by her husband, Raymond, her son, Paul Jr., and daughter, Ruby. She is survived by her daughters, Mariette, Mitzi, Stella, Beatrice, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch. Look at all that, right?
Yeah.
I apologize if I missed anyone. Dolores had no hobbies, made no contribution to society, and rarely shared a kind word or deed in her life. I speak for the majority of her family when I say her presence will not be missed by many, very few tears will be shed, and there will be no lamenting over her passing.
Wow.
Her family will remember Dolores, and amongst ourselves, we will remember her in our own way, which were mostly sad and troubling times throughout the years. We may have some fond memories of her, and perhaps we will think of those times too. But I truly believe at the end of the day, all of us will really only miss what we never had, a good and kind mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. I hope she is finally at peace with herself. As for the rest of us left behind, I hope this is the beginning of a time of healing and learning to be a family again. There will be no service, no prayers, and no closure for the family she spent a lifetime tearing apart. We cannot come together in the end to see to it that her grandchildren and great-grandchildren can say their goodbyes. So I say here for all of us, goodbye, Mom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's the exception to the rule. The
All
exception that proves the rule. I don't know. But that obviously comes from a place
I
of
mean,
bitterness.
if there were a shining, glaring example of petty,
yeah,
there
that's
it is.
Yep.
There it is. I mean, that's like, and
as you well know, newspapers in this day and age are very expensive. But even back in 2008, they charged by the word in an obituary. This was extensive.
Yeah.
When they could have just spent a little bit saying she passed, she's gone, no service.
That's you decide to take the time, the effort, and the money.
Yep.
To put that obituary in there for who?
For who?
Nobody. From what you're saying, nobody gave a shit anyway. So nobody's reading that obituary.
Right.
You did that for you petty piece of shit.
Yeah. So we got a few comments here. John's Life says home invasion has a special stick, the 870 Wingmaster with a police 870 barrel and magazine extension. Not a bad way to go. The door is locked. They had to have a tool or a lot of strength to force it open. That is the buffer. Yeah, so I would agree with that. If the door's locked and all bets are off at that point, they force their way in. You force your way in. Period.
Yeah, no questions asked.
No questions asked. Says, though I'm certain me and my underwear with a 10-inch bladed Solingen, Solingen Bowie knife. Is that a brand you're familiar with?
What? What?
Solingen Bowie knife. Solingen.
I'm not familiar with that term, but you know.
Bowie knife would be a bad sight. Yeah, me too, man. I mean, you know.
Whatever you want to call your danger, you know, that's impressive. I mean, 10 inches. Yeah. I'm more of a fucking pocket gerber myself, but you know, yeah.
You know, you could at least Swiss Army, right? Good for a lot of uses.
No, it's really good. Only good for one thing.
Fair. I keep the door locked for that very reason. That, and I do not look good in just underwear. I feel you, brother. I mean, you ever notice, like, some women feel like they're ugly no matter what. Even very beautiful women are convinced they're ugly. But I've seen truly hideous men that insist that they're, you know, God's gift and they're very attractive. And we had a buddy. We're not going to name names, but we had a buddy who used to open the door in his underwear, or excuse me, buck ass naked. No underwear.
He would wear underwear if, you know, he knew you were coming.
If he knew you were coming, he'd put underwear on at best.
As a courtesy.
But otherwise, he would open the door naked, just flopping in the breeze, man. I'm like, dude, get dressed. Put some clothes on for the love of all that's holy. I don't want to see that.
Did it make you a little confused?
No, I wasn't confused. I was revolted.
Why
Is
are
that-
you gay?
Why are you gay? No, it's just like, dude, why? Why are you like?
I mean,
trying to tell people
myself, even like an objectively attractive man in underwear, I don't want to see.
Well, that's
I don't
the
want to
thing,
see it.
man. Put some clothes on, bro. Like the hell, you got company, man.
Yeah, I don't
dressed.
think men's underwear is attractive.
That's that's a good point, actually. Men's underwear in general, we kind of get the short end of the stick on draws, man.
I
You notice
mean,
that?
well, no, not really,
You don't think
because
so?
like we don't need to.
I mean, like comfortable. You ever,
That's
like,
not the thing that makes us feel sexy, you know.
yeah,
like-
but still, like like you feel some of them women's panties, man, when you're taking them off.
Hold on,
No, when
hang
you're
on.
taking them off of her.
Yeah,
Right?
you're still treading on dangerous ground here. When you feel those panties, you know, it's like, why can't I have panties like those? see what I'm telling you right now.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I see where you're going. I'm just saying the material. Like, man, my shit's just cotton. You know, like
I mean, they
imagine
make-
that against the balls, man. I'm just saying.
They make men's underwear in different
I
fabrics.
found that out later. Yeah, later I found out that you can indeed order men's underwear in like silk or satin or Egyptian cotton,
Yeah, velveteen,
velveteen,
velour.
Yeah, velour. That's a funny word, man.
Yeah. velour.
Velour. John says, my buddy has a 1990 Chevrolet truck. I have a 94 Chevy truck. My door keys work in his, if I remember correctly, ignition too. That happened a lot, especially with domestic automobiles,
Mhm.
because there are only, I heard that I think Buick only used like 4 different key
Yeah.
sets during
I
certain
had,
period of time.
and
I know the
Yeah.
Honda, that raggedy ass Honda that I had that put the domino stickers all over, that worked in like 4 different other Hondas,
yeah, except for yours, because like,
except for mine. Yeah,
because like the second day you had it, you lost your key, and we had to bust the ignition.
I remember that. Walking around Walmart asking the cops the best way to jumpstart a car. My car, officer, I swear.
hmm
Huh.
Yeah, I've had like probably half a dozen Fords in my time,
Yeah,
and
I had a Ford truck that ran for a week.
I've had several, and I had a Ford key that literally started all of them.
All of them?
Yeah, every single one.
Nice.
The EXP, the Explorer, the Escort,
But it wasn't technically the
Ford
EXP.
Ranger.
The EXP was an Escort, right?
Yes and no,
Okay.
kinda.
Kind of. It
Yeah.
was like a model of Escort.
Well, it started out as like a specific package
Okay.
for the Escort, and then it kind of became its own thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, it was like the sporty 2-seat,
Right.
Escort. I can't even say that with a straight
I
face.
know. You know what though? To its credit, the EXP
Oh, I love my EXP.
was a good little runner, man,
Mhm.
for what it was and the price point.
It was a nifty little go
It was a
kart.
nifty little go-kart, exactly. That's like the little, I'm trying to remember if it was the Fiesta or the Festiva.
I mean, does
But-
it really matter?
But it
at this
doesn't really
point?
matter. Yeah, that little bitty car, they
Mhm.
had some cool graphics packages at the time, right? And it was a cute little affordable car that had a little bit of sportiness to it.
Yeah. I mean, the XP was fun to drive. It was more reliable than a Fiero.
True. Not as attractive as a Fiero though.
Oh no, I mean like
Fiero,
body,
especially the GT with that.
body wise, the Fiero had it hands down.
Oh yeah,
Looked real good sitting in your driveway
right. Until somebody rear-ended it.
because that was where it was going to sit because it probably wouldn't drive.
Yeah. The Fiero had tons of issues, man, which is a shame because it was a very attractive body style. In my opinion.
Yeah, and that's where they put all their money into.
Yeah, they put everything into body design, not so much into mechanics and engineering.
No.
They did fix the rear end explosion issue, though.
Oh,
You know what's funny to me, right? So they made such a huge deal out of the Pintos rear end, right? But that was actually an extremely rare occurrence, and Ford fixed it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Fiero, on the other hand, had a much likelier chance for that to happen.
Right.
And to my knowledge, GM never dealt with it. Do you know offhand?
I don't. I really don't.
I'm just curious. Anyway, did they fix?
How did we get here?
I don't know, dude.
Oh, the key thing.
Yeah. Oh, GM waited until 1987 to recall every Fiero ever built to retroactively correct the issue. The issues had already been correct, for the 1985 model year 4-cylinder cars, and fires were limited to the 84 model only, but the reputational damage was done. So yeah, they did take care of it, but they made a much bigger deal, in my opinion, out of the Fiero's capacity for Kaboom.
You mean the Pintos?
Or yeah, they made a much bigger deal out of the Pinto's capacity,
Right.
rather than the Fiero's.
Well, yeah. I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, other than the book Unsafe at Any Speed was written before the Fiero.
Right. You know what? That's a good point.
Because the Corvair.
Right. Which guy? The Corvair was a decent car, man.
I know people who are staunch.
Who wrote
Corvair.
that? Some Ralph Natter. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That fat piece of. Yeah. Yeah, he lied so much in that book, dude. It was crazy.
Yeah, I honestly didn't read it. I only
didn't
know
read it
snippets
either,
here and there.
Yeah, I've read breakdowns of all the shit that he lied about, flat out. So,
yeah, but at the time, it's like it was really hard to fact check.
True. It's not like today with the internet where you can just look.
Well, I
up.
mean,
you have to dig a little with Google because fuck Google.
Yeah, it's still difficult to fact check because there's too much information now.
That's a good
We
point.
have the opposite problem.
That's a good
Before there
point,
was there wasn't enough information.
Right.
Now there's just so much.
Yeah, 400 web pages for a simple query, and you have no idea which is right.
Yeah, you're digging through a mountain of shit to find a baby Ruth.
Speaking of, right, this is something that I was going to actually do an individual show about, but have you seen, so I know you're familiar with the whole crap going on with AI, right? How AI is badly designed, and like the Google AI is racist and won't show white people, and OpenAI
it's not just AI that won't show white people, at least not straight white people.
Right, yeah. I mean that's a whole thing on its own. But the point is,
so you can't blame the AI for that. They're just going off the information they have.
That's my point, right? The AI goes off the information it has, but the right wing has made a huge deal about Google's AI and the other ones that these big companies came out with that are biased, right? And do crazy stuff. Well, interestingly enough, the mainstream media, for the most part, has left all that alone. Interestingly enough, recently, Grok was the kind of model for X's full-on AI, right? So the media is now saying they're focusing on Musk's AI because anything.
Well, that was a surprise.
Right. While they go into depth about all the things that it's wrong about. And then a tiny snippet at the bottom is like, there have also been issues called out with other AIs. That's it. Like, dude, then bear in mind, Google's AI tells you to eat a rock. Have you seen that?
No. I avoid AI. If you have made something with AI, I will probably just avoid it. I hate AI in all of its forms.
Right. Okay, let me show you here. In one widely circulated example, AI Overviews allegedly responded to the query, how many rocks should a child eat, by falsely claiming UC Berkeley geologists recommend eating at least one small rock per day. Yeah. Google moving to remove bizarre AI search, like telling users to eat rocks. See, how many rocks should a child eat? It referenced, yes, the initial post that it's referencing, go away. The initial post that it's referencing was a satire site, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, The Onion, Babylon Bee, something like that.
Right.
Well, the AI is latching on to these satire sites
Mhm.
as
Because
factual information.
much like, people nowadays, it can't tell the difference between satire and reality.
Right. And that's true. That there's a lot of that going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people send me things that were obviously satire. I mean, obviously satire. And when you point that out to them, they get mad.
Uh-huh.
They're like, it's like, dude, I'm trying to help you from spreading false information.
Yeah, but these are
you
people
obviously believe
they
it,
don't
and
understand. They don't understand sarcasm in general.
That's true.
They'll talk about news. They're like, Fox versus CNN versus MSNBC. It's like, I said, yeah, that's why I only get my news from The Onion. Dude, they got livid.
Oh my god!
Like absolutely livid.
Seriously?
It's like, that they do not give accurate information. I'm like, are you you're fucking with me right now, right? You're being serious? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I have had. You know what is probably the most interesting part of all of that for me personally is the fact that Babylon Bee seems to predict the future. Have you seen this?
A lot of satire does.
Yeah. It's like you're really accurate. It's
Yeah.
like
because
years before they'll come up with something completely.
Here's the thing:
and it comes true.
The type of people who do satire, the sarcastic cynics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a certain amount of prophetic vision to it.
I mean, yeah.
Like it's really just pattern recognition. If you understand sarcasm on some level, you understand psychology.
Okay. Makes sense.
You are definitely a student of the human condition.
Okay.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be very good at sarcasm.
True.
And I mean, if you really look at it, by and large, people are pretty easy to predict, especially in large groups.
True. Yeah. Large groups of people are extremely easy to predict. I will agree with that.
Individually, it's a little tougher, but especially when they get together in collectives,
yeah,
it really it weeds out the variables because they're all together under some sort of common interest.
Yeah.
And when you can focus on that, it's very easy to predict where they're going with
Mm-hmm.
it. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Babylon, things like Babylon Bee and the like, do seem fairly prophetic.
Yeah,
because it's just understanding the human condition and pattern recognition.
Yeah, but to a point, right? Some of these,
it's just like when they talk about like, oh, The Simpsons predicts the future. It's not really predicting the future. It's just reading the writing on the wall.
To a degree.
I mean, there's some
of it that's
I mean, you look at mentalists.
Okay.
They'll go into a crowd of people and they'll like pretend like they're reading their minds or, channeling a dead relative or something like that.
Yeah.
That's all just them reading cues and a little bit of leading.
Yeah. So I had a girlfriend many years ago who was super into the whole like psychics and, these mentalists, and especially the psychic to the stars chick, whoever she was. I don't remember.
Miss Cleo?
I think so. I never really paid that much attention to it, but she was like, this one like went on various talk shows and was supposedly able to connect you to your dead relatives. And it was like, she wanted to pay money for this lady to tell her bullshit. And I'm like, listen. I'm really not trying to burst your bubble here, but these people are full of it. It's a scam. It's a giant scam.
You remember when our buddy told us about punking out the psychic? They're like at the mall or something, and he's like, "Man, this is this. I don't believe you're a psychic. If you can prove to me, I'll pay for your reading."
Okay.
And the psychic went, "Okay, well, what's your name?" And he went, "Nope, you failed."
Nice. I forgot about that. Yep, you failed. Yeah, you're supposed to be a psychic.
Yeah,
I mean that's
you can't even like suss out my name with your
right.
Come on, man.
That's the thing, right? You have that's like there was this guy, I can't remember his name, but this scientist who like spent his whole life debunking these various like psychics and these people with magic powers.
Right.
And there was this really, really famous guy who was supposed to be able to move stuff with his mind. Right. What was his name? Like I want to say Yuri Geller.
Yeah. Yeah. The dude with the spoons.
Yeah. With the spoons. And so he had him right on his show. And he's like, but in order to be on, we have to control all the environment. Right. And he couldn't do anything, obviously. Right. And it was, the energy's wrong. That's like these the whole one touch masters and the artists.
The bullshito.
Bullshito. Yeah, bullshito. Right, the bullshito artists.
Yeah.
And like where does that level of belief without proof come from? Like absolute willingness to believe whatever these people say with no evidence, anything. Is the crowd like mental effect that strong? That
can be, yeah.
Mass hypnosis or
it
whatever?
can be, yeah.
Which is wild, man. I mean,
like mentalism, like mysticism aside, mentalism is absolutely fascinating.
It is. I will give you that. It is fascinating.
Like just the things that these guys can do, and there's no hocus pocus to it. It's psychology.
It's odds, psychology, and
and it's absolutely amazing. It's don't hate the player, hate the game.
Exactly.
It's a shame that they use this for to scam people.
Right, because let's face it, that's predominantly.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to use it for?
Right. I mean, unless you're going to conduct a study of some kind, And speaking of studies, right, I think it kind of it ties into the Milgram experiment, right, with Stanley Milgram. You're familiar with that?
Refresh my memory.
That's where the guy had set up where you go into a room and there's guys in lab coats that tell you you're going to administer electric shocks.
Oh, yeah.
And dude, the vast majority of people kept shocking people.
Yeah, that would give lethal amounts of electricity.
They thought they were dying in there, but they were still doing it. And they were told before, you're going to get paid regardless, like everything regardless.
Yeah.
But the desire to follow authority was so strong. It's ingrained into us. It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. And the only authority was the guy who was in a lab coat. It's if you guys haven't seen this, definitely look it up. They did a movie that was fairly decent. But it's Stanley Milgram, the Milgram experiment. Mind-blowing. If you're not familiar with it, it really does say a lot about human behavior.
Yeah, mostly that they suck.
We do, man. As a species, absolutely. At the same time, we have some really, really phenomenal traits, man, that can explains the dominance of the planet and the fact that we have come together to create really, really great wonders.
and really, really great atrocities.
Absolutely. That's the flip side to it. So we're getting lean on time, but real quick. So here's a thought for you, right? Most of the greatest advancements in human history were done when a nation was secure. Okay? Their philosophers, their artists, their people were able to create great things because they felt safe, right? How many innovations do you think come from a nation constantly at war? And I'm not talking military, bigger bomb technology. I mean, like advancing the human race technology.
Well,
What do you think? Do you think that war is a necessity for invention, or do you think that peace is the route?
well, there's that old adage that necessity is the mother of invention.
Right?
And people will always be innovating.
Mm-hmm.
They'll always be thinking, they'll always be wondering, they'll always be. The difference is, and this isn't a for or against stance on war and innovation,
Okay.
but the innovative, directions are different in a time of peace because there's no necessity.
Right.
So you're going to be just doing thought exercises.
But can't the argument be made that there's necessity, but not necessity as far as protection or killing, right? There's still necessity. For example, right? Let's look at transportation. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The United States is a large country,
Mm-hmm.
one of the largest
Mm-hmm.
on the planet. So high-speed transportation, we look at, for example, China has high-speed rail in
Mhm.
many, many places.
Yeah.
The United
Japan
States
has
does
the
not.
bullet train.
Right. The United States does not.
Mhm.
Okay. If the U.S. wasn't in forever war after forever war, do you think that maybe we'd have something like that
No,
here?
I don't.
Okay.
And here's
Care to
why.
elaborate?
Yes. There are too many. Now, here's where I take you on a completely side road.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with war or peace. It has to do with business.
Okay.
Okay? You have very large oil concerns.
Mhm.
You have very large car companies.
Okay.
You have the people who build roads and maintain roads.
Mhm.
All have a vested interest in not having high-speed transportation.
Not wrong.
Why do you think that compared to some other countries, we have the worst public transportation in the world?
Right.
Because, why do you think,
It's about that.
we have all sorts of, look at other countries. Most of their cars are very small,
True.
because,
Mhm.
they for one thing, the countries are very
The
small.
countries are smaller, yeah.
And they don't need them.
Right.
They don't need them.
Yeah. Because they have a robust
Yeah.
public transportation system.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I will say. I have my issues with Michigan City. And I was going to say, I think our next episode, I'd like to talk about our home, Michigan City.
Okay.
Right. And our perceptions throughout the years and how the city has changed.
Okay.
Because you have lived in Michigan City almost your whole life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Tiny bit here and there,
Uh-huh.
still in LaPorte County, or at least very close.
Yeah, for the most part.
For the
There's
most
a
part.
couple episodes
Yeah,
where
but the vast majority of your life was in Michigan City. Most of my life was in Michigan City, but I've lived in Louisiana,
Mhm.
Alabama. So we come from two slightly different perceptions.
Yeah.
But at least Michigan City, for all the issues that it has a bus system. It's not a phenomenal. It's decent.
Mhm.
It's decent. The public transportation system in Michigan City is decent. There's room for improvement, of course,
Mhm.
but it exists, and it's been there since we were kids.
Yes.
They had, I used them. I rode
Yeah.
the bus.
We used to ride the bus like every weekend.
Every weekend we
We'd go from your house down to the mall.
Yep.
You know, to Jewel. Just everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, we rode around town on the bus, man.
Mhm.
And it was cheap as heck then.
Yeah. It was what, like a quarter?
I want to say a quarter.
Yeah.
No, it was a quarter, and then they raised it to like 50 cents.
Uh-huh.
And we bitched and moaned about the
Yeah.
the
Oh, it
doubling
was
of
bullshit. We need a whole $1 to get to the mall.
right?
You know, that's 4 games of Ninja Warriors.
Right? Yeah, I could play 4 games of Karate Champ for this. Joust.
Joust.
Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, it's real quick before we go. So one of my biggest issues with electric cars, right? Because we're talking about transportation. One of my biggest issues with electric cars isn't the electric car itself, right? It's the lack of infrastructure and the pushing as mandatory when we, like, for example, California can't even keep all the lights on all the time. There's rolling blackouts, right?
Right.
So why
the big push for electric cars?
Right.
Well,
Why?
I could get kind of.
Not why, because we know why. But my question,
Do we know why though?
Well, I know why.
Do we know
Go
why?
ahead.
Do we know why?
Yeah,
Let me get tinfoil hat for a second. I mean, I know we're getting there on time, but
you're not wrong. The question is, wouldn't it be more constructive if most of our collective labor went to making sure we have a functioning infrastructure and everyone's basic needs are fulfilled instead of being wasted on the further enrichment of the capitalist class? You're not necessarily wrong, except it's a complicated answer.
that's a simple question with a very long, complicated answer.
Right.
Anyway, electric cars.
Yes.
Tinfoil hat.
Yep. Throw it on.
Okay. Infrastructure can't handle it.
Right.
Okay. They take forever to charge.
True.
Their range isn't that great.
No. They're making advances, but it's still low comparatively.
Right.
Yep.
And the government wants everybody to have one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big country. It's pretty much the only way to get around is with a vehicle, with your own personal vehicle.
Yep.
So the shittier and more complicated it is for you to get around on that vehicle, the better it is for the government.
Right. Right.
Okay, let me take my tinfoil hat off.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? And the other, this is interesting as well. I don't know if you've seen this. So Ford filed a patent to where it could report speeders. Did you see that?
I've heard something about that.
Yeah. I don't know if they're talking about the vehicle that you're in or other cars that are around you, but either way, no.
Oh, while we're talking about cars, you know, it's like you'll see, I don't know if you've seen little news articles here and there about, you know, the new engines that, you know, can run on water and
hydrogen engines. Yeah, that's
no, even beyond hydrogen. This is an actual, it runs on
water
fucking water.
Killed the guy over? You know that one?
Yeah.
He invented it like many years ago. And they killed him.
Yeah. The short answer is yeah.
The short answer is yeah. That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had that for decades.
Decades. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I worked for a company that they were a metallurgical company.
Okay.
And they actually were involved in an alloy that was supposed to be used for that engine.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. But now they're going to like, oh, hey, we've got this engine now.
Right. Yeah, this new engine. Yeah. I will say, though, the hydrogen engines, those look promising.
Well, here's the thing with hydrogen. Hydrogen is, and that's why the water engine is so nice. It's basically, it's kind of like a hydrogen engine.
Okay.
Because it extracts the hydrogen from the water.
Right.
And burns the hydrogen. And the byproduct is water.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Well, if it takes water and it burns the hydrogen, then wouldn't the byproduct be oxygen?
Yeah, but it
The waste, I guess. The
yeah, it's
recycled
oxygen,
product.
which the thing burns, and there's like even the hydrogen engines. The byproduct is basically water.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, you can see. I think I've seen like videos where it's like dripping
Yeah.
out of the back, right, and it's just
Mhm.
water dripping down.
You know, I'm not a chemist, so I don't know exactly
Same.
how it works,
Yeah,
but
I'm not a chemist. I'm not even really all that smart.
yeah, but like when you're using just like hydrogen cells, like
Mhm.
fuel cells, you're taking pure hydrogen and you're transferring it from a container into a container in your vehicle, which then burns it.
Right.
Well, hydrogen is very,
Combustible.
explosive. You know, hydrogen that's why they use it in the combustion engine.
Right, because it.
But
burns.
when you're taking, you think gas is,
Yeah. As a matter of fact, wasn't hydrogen what they used in the Hindenburg?
yes, yeah. Originally, those dirigibles.
Dirigible. Is another cool
those
word.
those dirigibles used hydrogen.
Yeah.
Because it was lighter than air,
Mhm.
and they just didn't know just how easy it was to set this stuff off.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
little static charge and
Now,
whoosh.
allegedly, there's a whole lot more to the whole Hindenburg disaster than the simple explanation. I'm not saying big conspiracy theory. I'm just saying it's a more involved story. But there's some interesting information there when you actually start digging into it. I forgot most of it, but I do remember reading about it and going, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to refresh my memory on it, but I did find it a lot more interesting than the base level story that they give us on it.
I didn't dig that deep into the Hindenburg. It's just like, they used hydrogen.
Right.
That was kind of stupid.
It was flammable.
Yeah.
There was. It turns out like there was a reason that they used it versus what they were using. I think they were using like helium. Prior
I don't think they.
or
No,
something.
they were
used something else
prior
and
to
then-
hydrogen. Your hot air balloons would use just hot air,
Okay.
which for a large craft like that just isn't.
Practical.
Yeah, it's not practical. You want to float a basket around, that's one thing, but this is carrying multiple passengers.
Yeah. Okay. Here it is. I found it. All right. So, what did they use in the Hindenburg? Though it was designed to be filled with helium gas,
Okay.
the airship was filled with highly flammable hydrogen because of export restrictions by the United States against Germany at the time.
Okay, and where's that? What's your source there?
Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica.
Okay. All right.
I knew I had found that in 1937. It caught fire and was destroyed, and 36 people died in the disaster.
Mm-hmm.
804 feet long and 245 meters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. It was huge. Huge. Maximum speed of 84 miles per hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's cooking, man. That's cooking.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Interesting. That's the maximum speed and a cruising speed of 78 miles per hour. And you're airborne, so, shortest point from A to B.
Right.
Like, I find it interesting that after that, suddenly, dirigibles, like, came under fire. And we're like, oh, those are a horrible idea. Get rid of those, And suddenly we had to have airplanes that take much more expensive fuel.
Well,
Just throwing tinfoil hat shit out there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying it was
I feel like
intentional, but it is interesting.
like dirigibles kind of got out of fashion.
But I think that was a big part of why.
Well, yeah, part of it is like, what happens if say you get a hole in it or something like that.
Yeah.
Technology
Technology
progressed.
progresses, right. But I do find it interesting, again, that it was the restrictions that were placed on that country by the United States that led to a different fuel being used, and as such, the death of 38 people?
Yeah, something like that.
36. 36 people died because Austrian paint are bad at the time. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying at the time.
Well, I mean, they could have just not flown it.
Right. But I don't know, the rest of the story there.
Right.
But
That's worth digging a little further
worth
into.
Looking into, because there's a certain narrative.
Because like Germany wasn't well known for doing smart things. Like they had smart people. Like technologically, they had like all kinds of great stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
there's
like
a reason German engineering is
the decisions that were made, especially during the war, were not smart.
Yeah.
Like they had the most advanced airplanes, didn't have anybody to fly them.
Yeah, that's true.
And honestly, Hitler didn't care. Just put somebody in the goddamn planes. And that was like just a small example of the dumb ideas. Hey, let's wall off the Atlantic. No, Adolf, dude. This is wrong. Dude, no, this is not going to work. Just let me do my wall off the Atlantic. No, Adolf, look, listen. I want a wall. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Rommel was very, very good at what he did.
Yeah.
He was arguably the best.
If it was up to Rommel, I think the war would have gone a lot differently.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. He was actually shipped off. My understanding is he was shipped off to Northern Africa.
To the African campaign?
Yeah. Because
that's totally important.
Right. So that Adolf wouldn't have to deal with him anymore.
Yeah,
and
with him arguing.
Yeah, with him consistently arguing with.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the case or if Rommel just went, you know what?
Right.
I'm gonna go down here because this is not going to end well.
This is not going well. Yeah, fair enough.
The Nazis were the first to have jet fighters.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And
for what that was worth.
Right. Here's the interesting thing is jet technology and everything that led to was immediately shipped to the United States via Operation Paperclip.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
we couldn't snatch those scientists up fast enough.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you think the Nazis went away after the war,
they just changed flags.
Yeah, they just changed flags. We grabbed Werner von Braun, all of his minions, all of his cronies, all came straight over here and worked on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, our trip to the moon was directly a product of Operation Paperclip.
Yeah. Rocket technology,
all of that. The Saturn rocket. The group photo has Werner von Braun front and center. Yeah, I mean it's all interconnected. Everything in our history meshes together somehow. Well, real quick before we go, I want to get your take on something. Have you heard of the Tartaria thing?
No.
Foreign concept to you?
Okay.
So allegedly, right, tinfoil hat, allegedly, there was this great civilization that existed called Tartaria. I don't know how you say it, okay? But it's in something called a mud flood, right? Or something. They talk about all these big, beautiful buildings, mostly like 1800s and previous, which I will say our architecture has gotten hideously ugly. Steel and glass versus what we used to have is a friggin' tragedy. However, allegedly, this Tartaria was massive and spanned, I think, most of Europe, possibly even North America. It was huge. And so all of these so-called buildings belonged to the Tartarian nation, and this nation was like wiped out, and the history was like suppressed. It's this big thing, man. We'll look into it next time and we'll kind of do a dive on it. And I'll show you just to get
I'll look into that. My knee-jerk reaction, the way you're explaining it to me, my knee-jerk reaction is just sounds like complete bullshit.
Right? That was my first thing.
And this was in the 1800s?
Well, it predates that, right? It predates that by quite a bit. The whole thing. But here's the wild part, right? There are a number of historical maps and other documents that clearly label Tartaria. So
I mean, there's a lot of maps of Narnia too.
Right, but these are actual like U.S. geological type maps, like accepted government maps.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean,
Uh-huh.
Right. So, look into it though. Tartaria mudflood.
I'll
check it out.
I'll look into this.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about it next time, along with Michigan City and the way that it's changed, because change is constant.
Yep.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, I appreciate you joining us, and the plan, at least for right now, is every Wednesday morning, whenever Jim gets out of bed and makes his way over here. Screw you, guy. We're going to try for 8 a.m., but it happens. He's injured. Cut him some slack. He's hoping he'll be going back to work soon. And when that is the case, he will definitely be over because he goes right by here on his way home. So without further ado, I hope everybody has a great day. And I thank you for spending your time with us. We appreciate it. God bless you. God bless Indiana. And God bless the United States of America.
Amen.
Amen. And I hope you guys have a great day. See you soon.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.